Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, on behalf of the Nigerian delegation to the ECOWAS Parliament, I convey warm greetings to you all from the government and the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Once again, it is an honor and a privilege for me to stand before you today to present Nigeria's country report during this 2019 second ordinary session of the ECOWAS Parliament. Let me, with your kind permission, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, start with the political situation in Nigeria. Nigeria held presidential and National Assembly, gubernatorial / House of Assembly elections on the 25th of February, and 9th of March 2019, respectively. As a fallout, several cases were filed in court challenging the outcome of the elections. On the presidential elections, the Supreme Court, as the final adjudicator, affirmed the judgment of the tribunal, that is the Court of Appeal, on Wednesday, the 30th of October 2019, and upheld the judgment of the Court of Appeal that dismissed the petition challenging the President Buhari's 2019 election victory. The 9th National Assembly of the Federal Republic is bicameral legislature. It was inaugurated on the 11th of June 2019, and the Assembly would run its course to the 11th of June 2023. As a result of the court decisions, 7 out of 36 governors did not go through elections in March 2019. These are Osun, Ondo, Anambra, Ekiti, Edo, Bayelsa, and Kogi states. Following expiration of their office tenures, 2 of these governors, Bayelsa and Kogi, went to polls on Saturday, 16th November 2019 to elect their governors. The APC has won both the states. The 5 remaining states will face the electorates at the expiration of their various office tenures. Security situation. Security operatives have further degraded the activities of Boko Haram, even though the terrorist group continues to carry out limited attacks on soft targets in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa, and northern part of Adamawa State. The only major attack by the group since May 2019 was on July 27, 2019, when they attacked a funeral gathering where 21 people were initially killed during the burial ceremony, and an additional 44 people killed when the villagers ran after the assailants. Kidnapping has again become a virulent form of crime in Nigeria recently, after militants of the Niger Delta had stopped hostage-taking to protest the insecurity in the region, following the resolution of the Niger Delta question. The Distately Act has now surfaced in other sections of the country. However, the security agencies have beamed a powerful searchlight on perpetrators of the crime, and arrests and prosecutions are being made. Banditry in the northwest states is another form of criminality which became rife following from the middle of the year. This is being curbed even in Zamfara state, following the election of a new governor in the state in March 2019. As we approach the end of the rainy season and the beginning of harvest of farm produce, the annual cycle of violence between herders and farmers may rear its ugly head again. This is an annual event as farmers evacuate farm produce while cattle wander onto farmlands to graze and destroy crops. This has been a source of conflict and a serious cause of insecurity, not only in Nigeria, but in the whole of the Sahel. The driving cause of these clashes is the competition for available resources, especially grazing land, and it is a serious drawback on agricultural production. Nigeria has since realized that there is a need for concerted efforts by the government, the private sector, regional bodies, and the international community at large to come together and address these challenges. Human rights situation. National Human Rights Commission, NHRC. Considerable progress has been achieved within the human rights space in the country. As usual, the relevant government agency, the civil society groups, and individual human rights activists continue to work actively in ensuring the protection of human rights in the country. The National Human Rights Commission has continued to make progress in curbing human rights abuses. The Commission has completed a comprehensive investigation of complaints against the Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigeria Police. It is currently conducting nationwide investigation on sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria. The Commission is carrying out human rights monitoring projects in the northeast and north-central parts of the country due to insurgency and the farmer-herders clashes. Generally, the Commission is holding law enforcement agencies accountable and has redirected the focus of stakeholders to promotion and protection of human rights in Nigeria. National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP. NAPTIP was created on 14th July 2003 as Nigeria's response to addressing the scourge of trafficking in persons in fulfillment of the country's international obligation under the Trafficking in Persons Protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children. In partnership with the national and international agencies, the agency had achieved a lot in carrying out its mandate, which has yielded the following successes. A, effective collaboration that led to Nigeria's existing MOU with the following countries: the Netherlands, which led to Operation Cool V's and counterintelligence exchange program; Mali, which led to Operation Timbuktu; Italy, Benin Republic, Finland, Spain, etc. B, mainstreaming of human trafficking into the national curricula of schools, which is a product of NACTI's collaboration with the National Education Research and Development Council. C, strengthening of technical and operational operation with many countries on mutual legal assistance, joint investigations, and joint prosecutions, particularly the UK. And D, collaboration with neighboring countries, Cameroon, Benin Republic, Chad, and Niger Republic, to strengthen mutual cooperation to stem transborder trafficking. So, situation of refugees and stateless persons. From 32,601 Cameroonian refugees reported to be in Nigeria as of May 2019, the number of the refugees have increased to 46,610, scattered in 5 states of Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Benue, and Taraba states in Nigeria. In the month of August alone, 1,464 new refugees were registered in Nigeria. About 51% of these refugees live in their host communities and therefore receive assistance from the government of Nigeria. For the United Nations High Commission for Refugees Office funding of the refugees, the Commission's 2019 budget of $44.6 million has been funded up to 25% as of August 2019 on the refugees. Status of implementation of the community tax. As reported during the first ordinary session of this Parliament in May 2019, Nigeria had ratified 41 out of 54 ECOWAS protocols, giving an achievement record of 76%. The situations remain the same. Greater efforts will, however, be made to ensure a 100% record. Economic and social situation. Nigeria's economic environment remains challenging. This reflects uncertainty arising from insecurity and threat tensions with attendant implication. However, Nigerian economy has thus far recorded 9 consecutive quarters of GDP growth, with 2.2% in the first half of 2019. We have significantly reduced inflation from a peak of 18.72% in January 2017 to 11.2% by August 2019. This was achieved through effective fiscal and monetary policy coordination, exchange rate stability, and sensible management. That is a sign of increased investor confidence in our economy, and there were remarkable inflows of foreign capitals imported into Nigeria from $2 billion in the first half of 2018 to $14 billion for the same period in 2019. Oil, being Nigeria's 95% foreign exchange earner, remains 80% of the country's budgetary revenues. In the first quarter of 2019, average daily oil production stood at 1.86 million barrels per day, which was higher than the first quarter 2018 production volume by 0.0 barrels per day, which was higher than the first quarter 2018 production volume, by 0.0% barrels per day. This level of oil production during the quarter was the highest recorded over the past 1 year and the second highest since May 2017. The non-oil sector grew by 2.4% in real terms during the reference quarter. This was 1.72% points higher compared to the rate recorded in the same quarter of 2018. The sector was driven mainly by information and communication technology, ICT. Other drivers were agriculture, transportation and storage, trade, and construction. In real terms, the non-oil sector contributed 90% of the nation's GDP, higher than recorded in the first quarter of 2018. Deep Offshore and Inland Basin Production Sharing Contracts Act Amendment Bill 2019. On 4th November 2019, President Muhammadu Buhari assented to the Deep Shore and Inland Basin Production Sharing Contracts Amendment Bill 2019. This law provides a legislative framework guiding Nigeria's offshore production, covering acreages greater than 200 meters in water depth. It embodies a gradation of fiscal incentives with a zero royalty and 50% flat rate of chargeable profit from oil exploration and production companies, i.e. the contractors involved in explorations beyond 1,000 meters water depth. The need to encourage upstream investment in offshore acreages, which is considered extremely risky and novel at that time, was the reason incentives were given under the old law, which led to massive investments among the international oil companies, or IOCs, that unlocked an increase in Nigeria's crude oil reserves to about 36 billion barrels as of June 2019. With this amendment, it is now much more economically beneficial to Nigeria whenever the price of crude oil in real terms exceeds $20 per barrel, thus impacting on the fiscal terms of the production sharing contracts PSC negotiated between the contractors and the federal government of Nigeria. The amendment has long been due for review, since crude oil prices soared above $20 for more than 15 years. Agriculture. Agriculture, as in other countries of the world, is a branch of the economy in Nigeria, providing employment for about 70% of the working population. It is also the largest economic activity in the rural areas, where almost 50% of Nigeria's population lives. Since the coming of this administration in 2015, Nigeria has put to a halt the exogenous leakages in the agricultural sector by enhancing the locally made farm produce, thereby increasing internally generated revenue index and foreign exchange capacity and reserve. This is designed to put an end to importation of farm produce that can be grown here in our country, which is a pilot vehicle to sustainable economic and agricultural development and for job creation. ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, ETLS, for Tripartite Anti-Smuggling Committee. Now, we have taken time to detail out the historical perspective of the ETLS in our community. And we said here that the primary purpose for establishing ECOWAS, as we all know, is to integrate the West African markets in order to aid the free movement of persons, goods, capital, and labor, so that the community can advance harmoniously as one region in its search for sustainable economic growth and development. For ECOWAS to achieve this integration agenda, it has developed various protocols and laws to eliminate obstacles in the sub-region. The ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, ETLS, is one such protocol. Created in 1976, the protocol was followed in 1979 with the ECOWAS protocol relating to free movement of persons, residence, and establishment, which was established bearing in mind that free movement is a significant factor for integration as well as a pillar for a common market. The ETLS It's an initiative of the ECOWAS member states to produce cooperation and integration in commerce, increase and maintain economic stability through the establishment of an economic union within the sub-region for the purpose of raising the living standards of its citizens, fostering close relations among the members, and contributing to the progress and development of the African continent. The objective of the ETLS is to establish a custom union among all members aimed at the total elimination of custom duties and taxes of equivalent effect, removal of non-tariff barriers, and the establishment of a common customs external tariff to protect goods produced in member states. And this is contained in Article 3 of the revised treaty. The trade liberalization scheme is meant to provide impetus to the process of economic integration and development in the West Africa region. It is also to provide easier access to markets in other ECOWAS countries and thereby encourage local manufacturing outfits to compete favorably with imported products. I repeat, it is thereby to encourage local manufacturing outfits to compete favorably with imported goods that may be dumped in the market. The change or the scheme is to furthermore encourage entrepreneurial and economic development in member states. The ETLS is one of the major achievements of the process of regional integration in the economic front. The scheme has undergone a series of transformation in respect of the categories of goods that are covered. The first category was defined when the scheme first came into existence in 1979. At that time, agreement was reached on only agricultural, artisanal handicrafts, and unprocessed products to benefit from the scheme. However, in 1990, further agreement was reached to include non-industrial products, and I quote, originating from the ETLS region. The rules of origin which guide this concept was defined in the ECOWAS Protocol A/P1/1/03 of 31st December 2003. It defines originating products as follows: wholly produced goods, goods whose raw materials completely originate from the region, goods which are not wholly produced but their production requires the exclusive use of materials which are to be classified under a different tariff subheading from that of the product, and goods which are not wholly produced but their production requires the use of materials which have received a value added of at least 30% of the ex-factory price of the finished goods. The ETLS Task Force. The ETLS Task Force was established on 25th November 2015 via enabling regulation PC/REG 01/11/15. The mandate of the task force is to monitor the effective implementation of ECOWAS protocols on the free movement of persons and goods. Its mandate also includes encouraging ECOWAS members to effectively implement the protocols of free movement of persons and goods in the community through arbitration and amicable settlement of disputes between the member states. It also undertakes advocacy and mediation missions with the highest political authorities of member states. The task force operates under the supervision of the President of Burkina Faso, appointed by his colleagues with mandate to monitor free movement within the ECOWAS and under the coordination of the President of the Commission. The task force came to Nigeria on 28th October 2018 and was led by its head, His Excellency Salou Djibo, from the former President of the Republic of Niger. Other members of the delegation include Mr. Kenneth Okoha, President of the National Association of Nigerian Traders, NANT, and Mr. Mustafa Nakambari, former Secretary of the Task Force. Now, having laid down the foundation and the historical reasons for the establishment of the ETLS, I'll now come to the reasons of why Nigeria, or reasons for Nigeria's land borders security drills. Prior to the eventual Nigeria's land border security drills, the Nigerian government had in 2016 banned importation of rice through the land borders. 2016. So this ban was not made in 2019. Despite this measure, imported rice continued to flood the Nigerian market at rock bottom prices, thereby rendering locally produced rice very unattractive to buyers in Nigeria. Now, to safeguard the recent Nigeria's land border security drills, Nigeria had signed 3 memorandums of understanding, MOUs, at different times with Benin Republic. The first MOU was signed on 11th April 2005. The second MOU was signed on 2nd May 2015, while the third MOU was signed on between 22nd to 24th of July 2018. In addition, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, Nigeria had assisted Benin Republic with donation of 10 Hilux vehicles to deal with smuggling activities on 2nd May 2017. And recently, my dear colleagues, Nigeria further donated 5 vehicles to Benin Republic to combat smuggling activities. Unfortunately, all the MOUs signed were not implemented by Benin Republic, and the donations did not yield any positive results. Nigeria's land borders security drills with the republics of Benin and Niger commenced on 20th of August 2019. The border security drills were due to the prevailing massive smuggling activities taking place in that corridor, especially the smuggling of rice into Nigeria. Bilaterally, Nigeria has engaged with the Republic of Benin and Niger many times on this matter without positive results. The dumping of imported rice into Nigeria has adversely affected the local production of rice vis-a-vis the Nigeria's economy. Most of the smuggled goods are not part of illegal items, as you know, or as we have detailed in the ETLS. They are not part of the covered items captured under the ETLS, but rather imported from third countries such as rice produced in Thailand and Vietnam, imported to Benin and finds its way to Nigeria through smuggling. Such goods were accompanied by other, unfortunately, illicit items such as hard drugs, which are causing so many challenges to a sister country, Nigeria. Now, the effects of border security drill to Nigeria. Now, what are the effects? If everybody thinks that Nigeria is gaining by these security drills along our borders, on the contrary, Nigeria is losing economically. Therefore, as the Nigerian delegation detailed out below, as a result of the border drills, Nigeria has suffered some loss of its export to the sub-region. For instance, in the first quarter of 2019, Nigeria exported $17,047,978.85 billion worth of goods, while in the second quarter of 2019, it was only $12,868,042.21. This is a drastic reduction in the income of Nigeria. However, as a result of land border closure in the third quarter, this further dropped to mere $2,886.55. It is not a bed of roses, and we're not happy if the economies of our sister neighbors is suffering. Now let's go to the objectives of the mission of Task Force in Nigeria. On 20th October 2019, the ETLS Task Force was on a fact-finding mission to the Federal Republic of Nigeria to get first-hand information on Nigeria's land border security drills with the neighboring countries. The mission provided an avenue for jointly addressing the concerns in the framework of ETLS and the free movement of persons in the region. The task force visited the republics of Benin and Niger on their fact-finding mission and would submit recommendations to the Commission at the completion of their findings. I'm happy to report they have completed and they have submitted. Now let's look at the schedule of tripartite agreement between Nigeria, Benin, and Niger. The aftermath of the security drills has to provide an avenue for jointly addressing the concerns raised by Nigeria in the framework of ETLS protocols and the free movement of persons in the region. A tripartite meeting between Nigeria, Benin, and Niger has been held on Thursday, 14th of November this month, where all the irritants had been deliberated and, I'm happy to report, accordingly resolved. Nigeria will continue to work with the ECOWAS community in achieving greater economic integration in line with the vision of our founding fathers. Eradication of poverty. Nigeria remains committed to ensuring the equitable sharing of economic prosperity, promoting social investment, and assisting victims of federal disasters. Accordingly, the government is improving on the implementation of National Social Investment Program, NSIP, through the newly created Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and Social Development, created on the 21st of August, 2019. The creation of this ministry is aimed, among others, at the rebuilding of northeastern Nigeria that has been grossly affected by insurgency and other humanitarian crisis situations over the past 10 years. The ministry is also charged with the responsibility of returning displaced persons back to their natural settlements and manage natural disasters with victims of such disasters. The NSIP is already creating jobs and economic opportunities for local farmers and cooks, providing funding to artisans, traders, youth, and supporting small businesses with business education and mentoring. The provision of 65 billion naira for the Presidential Amnesty Program, PAP, has been retained in the 2020 budget. Furthermore, to fast-track the rebuilding effort in the northeast region devastated by Boko Haram insurgency, there is a provision of 37.3 billion naira which has been made for the Northeast Development Commission in this 2020 budget. Specific anti-corruption measures. We have reported to you, my honorable colleagues, in the last ordinary mission session in May 2019, the efforts of Nigeria in curbing corruption and corrupt practices in government, where we informed you of the government's introduction of whistleblower policy introduced in December 2016, as well as implementation of single treasury accounts and the TSA and the creation of Nigerian Intelligence, Financial Intelligence Units, NFIU, which is the Nigerian arm of the Global Financial Intelligence Units, FIUs, domiciled with the EFCC. We are happy now to report that the government has forwarded an executive bill to the National Assembly that will create a special court for anti-corruption cases. Also, the President has issued a new directive on Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, IBPIS, which is a computerized human resource management information system that puts all government employees in a centralized payroll system that helps the government to plan and manage payroll budgets by ensuring proper control of personnel costs and to hold padding of personnel budget and the diversion or misappropriation of capital budget. Status of implementation of the macroeconomic convergence criteria. Nigeria has fulfilled the primary and secondary criteria thus far, as detailed in the table below. It also assesses progress made on the macroeconomic convergence program, as well as policy harmonization activities. Number 8, environment and climate change. Nigeria is a party to the UN framework on climate change aimed at reduction of greenhouse gases. We are happy to report to you, my distinguished colleagues, that we are unconditionally committed to reducing emissions by 20% by the year 2030. We shall scale it up to 45% with international support and partnership. In this regard, government has developed sectorial action plan to guide the mitigation. On the treatment of polluted soil resulting from gas flaring and crude oil spills in the Ogoni line in the Niger Delta, government has engaged contractors that have since commenced the first phase of the exercise. Bids from contractors for the second phase are being received for award of contracts for the cleanup. Payment of ECOWAS community levy. As reported in May 2019, Nigeria's 2017 levy was deposited in December 2018. It was a total amount of $59,896,606.19 billion. As the Council of Ministers meetings comes up on 17th December 2019, we are hopeful payment for 2018 will be done before December 2019, because Nigeria pays its levy in December at the end of the year. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, my distinguished honorable colleagues, the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is determined to integrate and develop the West African sub-region. Nigeria will continue to build upon its actions in implementing regionally agreed commitments with a view to improving the standard of living of its citizens, and will continue to work towards the fulfillment of community development initiatives. On behalf of the entire delegation of parliamentarians to the ECOWAS Parliament, I thank you most sincerely for listening. Long live the ECOWAS. Long live the ECOWAS Parliament. Thank you. Merci. Obrigado.